All right, welcome back. Today, I want to talk about password management. Good friend of mine, Lindsay, wrote in on a LinkedIn page of mine and said, the next topic should be about password management. I think it's actually a very good conversation. So, basically, with password management, I'm rounding off some of the edges in the sense that there's a lot of things we could talk about, but what I'm really talking about here is password managers in general compared to trying to remember passwords or deviations of passwords or derivations of passwords at different sites, right? And so I'll get right into it. I appreciate it. Thank you for being here. So, most people, when selecting their passwords, use something over and over again. So, in this instance, we're going to use Moby, right? And so, your Gmail will be Moby, BrainPop, Facebook, all these different things, will always be the same password. So, let's say here that our friend Sally is using any username as her username, and password is Moby. Obviously, we know it would be a little longer, but for illustrative purposes, let's just assume that she's using Moby. And she's probably also using Moby 1 exclamation point, Moby Spring, Moby 2, Moby 7, Moby 19, Moby 22, as she's iterated through in different passwords. So she just keeps trying them as she's trying to remember them. And, that's been a life of everybody, myself included, right? So YouTube, LinkedIn, Pinterest, your credit cards, your bank, Reddit to not leave anybody out, Netflix, Facebook, and GitHub. They're all using the same username and password combo. And so, let's talk through, a process where one of your websites, let's say it's Netflix, gets compromised. And granted, I'm rounding off the edges for anybody super technical, but let's say they get your username and password, whether that's through rainbow tables or whatever method. But let's just assume that they've gotten your username and password. Well, the threat actor down here on the left is going to use OSINT or open source intelligence tools. And as you look, it's just basically trying to figure out data that I have, how is it valuable to me some other way? And how can I use that through public sources? And so one of those great examples is NameCheck. NameCheck's a site you can go to and put in a username. And I would actually say you should do this to learn your surface area, and find two things, whether that is a used username on a lot of these services, right? So as you notice, black on the Twitter or on Twitch or on eBay or on Reddit would indicate someone's using any username as a username. So as a threat actor, what I can do is I can actually just start enumerating on those sites, right? So I've found the sites here. I've got a list of them. I've got a username and I've got Moby. And I can readily assume that you've used that. And I can actually use random text generators to create derivations of Moby and run them through in a brute force, like using Hydra or something like that. And man, I could just keep spitting at it with those usernames and passwords until I get in. And when I do, I'm obviously going to monetize that in some way. So let's talk about what you can do to solve that. And it really is very simple. You should do this personally. You should do this as a business. I don't care. You should have a password manager until you can get rid of every password. That's going to be in a different show. For now, though, let's just assume one of the major ones, NordPass, 1Password, or LastPass. It doesn't matter. You're going to go through this process of taking your username and password Moby and changing it, as you see here, to a random, password over and over again. And you're not going to do it with pencil, and you're not going to put it in your stomach. But the point is that you're going to start storing these in a password manager, and the password manager becomes Sally's vault. So in order to open the vault, Sally has a passphrase, which I would recommend you use. So right here in this example, passphrase. This passphrase is easy to type and remember, but hard to crack. 1 exclamation point. And the only reason you have the 1 exclamation point here is because a lot of sites require that in their complexity rules, that you have to have the ability to have, uppercase, lowercase, and maybe, special characters, stuff like that. That said, what you end up doing is every single service is a new password. You open and gain those passwords and copy and paste those passwords, or it autofills depending on the product. And it makes your life easy, and you never know the password. You just don't ever know it. You are definitely hooked on the service you choose. So be careful to choose a service. Come up with a manual backup process to store those passwords, print them off, and put them in your safe. Joking aside, Moby's stomach, right? But the point is that the password vault changes the way this works. So let's look at this compromise again. Now we have any username. Our password is Q23LIS8, semicolon 9 dash alpha. I have to finish now. 8 Delta Alpha Victor 34 $sign. Right, so there's our password. And the threat actor gets that password, goes through the same process of OSINT, and gets the usernames and where they are. And then he goes and attacks them, and they're not the same password. In fact, they start alerting you that the password was tried, multiple times. You start finding out. You can start kind of understanding what the threat surface looks like. But they've only got Netflix. And so Sally goes in. A new password's generated for Netflix once they realize the compromise and shut out the actors, right? And you get back into the vault, and the risk for the compromise is very, very low. And you also know this compromised password is out there. And ultimately, if you can start to work towards having random passwords stored in a password vault or stored in some methodology that's not, on a sticky note under your keyboard, preferably, then you can get to a point, and don't store it in an Excel sheet on your desktop, please, 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 please. But yeah, you can get to a point where we can now protect ourselves until you can move to single sign-on, or until you can move into additional methods of passwordless, and FIDO2 and U2F, and all kinds of things. So thank you so much. If you have any questions, please comment below. Please subscribe and click the bell. I really appreciate it.